All right, folks, Buckeye Chad back here again. We just went today and got us one of these little industrial AGT mini excavators. And so what we're doing right now is when they ship them over here, they have to have vegetable oil in them for hydraulic and engine oil. And to make them environmentally safe to be able to come into America. So what we're doing today is we're changing the oil and the hydraulic oil on it before we operate it and get some good oil and hydraulic oil in it, and so we can ensure that it's good and lubricated. So we'll walk around this thing a little bit here and talk about it, and then we'll get at it. All right, here we go. You can see it's got a little thumb on it. It's a solid mount, it's not a mechanical. Oh, and it also came with a whole pallet of attachments. It's got 3 more buckets with it, a small one, a real wide one for cleaning out ditches, and a medium. And then it's got a rake, and then it's got a brush grabber on it, and it's got an auger with 2 sizes of bits on it. Looks like a 6 and either an 8 or a 10 inch. So getting back to this, as y'all can see, it's got a little cab with windows on it. It's got a little fan in it. It's got it's a H13R. It's got a 15 horse engine in it. Y'all can see right now I've got the oil draining out of the engine, and when we get that done, and I got it backed up here on the back of my trailer, and I've got my ramps under it so it don't bend down too much, but it gives me a little bit of room to get under there with it. But as you can see, kind of tinted windows on it. I've looked at this thing pretty hard for a couple weeks now, and the first one I stopped and looked at didn't have the windows and stuff. It was just an open cab. And so when I went back today, they had this one down there, and for the same price with the windows. So hey, ain't nothing even better than windows when it's raining or cold outside. So anyway, it looks like it's a pretty solid build. The welds look good on it, and the tracks, the hydraulic motors, and everything, as you can see, it's got some big old spindles on it there for them hydraulic motors. It looks like it may have a couple of leaks, but I have found a couple of hydraulic hoses that was kind of loose, so I'm gonna go over it real good and make sure everything's real good and tight, and before we operate it any. But in some other videos you've seen that we've been working on a place to put us in a shop down there, so we're going to do a little bit of work down there with this thing too, and finish up with where our slab's going to go. But anyhow, I'm going to get back here. I'm going to let this engine drain out real good, and I'll get back with you here in a few minutes whenever we start trying to get oil in this thing, because it looks like it might be a pretty tight fit. I may have to pull this back screen off of it, but we'll get back with you here in just a second and get into this thing and get some good oil in it. I think we'll get a little better access if we pull this back screen off of it right here. At least we can get the oil in it a little easier with a long funnel. I'm gonna lay them bolts right there so I'll lose them. Anyway, that makes it a lot easier to get in there where we got to everything. Alrighty, as y'all can see, I pulled this last back cover off of it right here. I can get in there to where the oil is a lot better and I can see what's in there. Get to everything real good. I need a little easier access to be able to check the oil on it, but we may work on that later. We may put some hinges on this thing and put a latch on it where that little door I open and close. Make it a little bit more mechanical friendly. Anyway, we're gonna get on with this thing and we'll catch back up in just a few minutes. All right, we poured a little bit of oil in it just to kind of flush that rest of that other old stuff out. Just kind of help make sure we got all that old vegetable oil out of there. I'm not sure how good it'll mix with petroleum oil. But we got a pretty good stream coming out of there. These little motors will last forever if you take care of them. I've got a sawmill down there with a 25 horse engine on it I bought it in 2004. So it's almost 21 years old and still runs like a top. Sawed many a 1,000 board feet with it. I built my cabin off of it. Built a friend of mine's cabin off of it and sold a lot of lumber off of it. But I'm gonna get this plug back in there and we're gonna fill it up with oil and then spin it around here and see if we can get the hydraulic oil changed. All right, we got the plug in it. We're gonna pour some oil in this thing. Kind of looking at it there, the only thing it don't have that I'm gonna add later is probably a hydraulic filter on it. It don't have one, so I'm gonna take the hydraulic line off. It comes from the tank in there and have me a longer one built, because there's plenty of room right in there for a small hydraulic filter. And get me one of them in there. The only bad thing about this motor that I really don't like it, I hadn't found yet, it don't have an oil filter. So it's kind of rule of thumb on these little motors. If they've got a filter, it takes a multi-grade. If don't have a filter, it takes a single grade most of the time, but you can run a multi-grade because finding a single grade is getting pretty hard anymore. Nothing hardly runs a single grade, because a little machine like this, you can run 30 weight in the engine and the same oil in the hydraulics. So, but anyway, we bought just hydraulic oil to put in the hydraulics. It says a hydraulic ISO 46, but I've been to school and work on hydraulics quite a bit, and these little hydraulics on this will run on a heavy duty hydraulic oil. Because the 46 is about a mid. There's a 30 and a 46, and then there's I don't know, a 50 something, I think. But anyhow, we'll get some oil poured in this thing and get her fired up here in a minute. All right, we got her filled up with oil. We're gonna fire it up and let it run just a minute, and then we'll recheck the oil on it, and then we're gonna spin it around and see if we can get to that hydraulic oil. All right, we got the oil in it. We're gonna fire it up and spin it around sideways here and see if we can get to the hydraulic oil. Yeah, it looks like a couple bolts. We'll pull that plate out of the floor there where we can get down in there and check the rest of those hoses while we're at it. And them wasn't very tight. Them little fellers over there must not have very much hand strength. I wouldn't hurt to go over this whole thing. Check all the bolts. Turns out I may not be able to get that plate out of there. It's up under both the back area and under the sides where the cab is. So, I may have to take this other plate off. This may not be nothing but the rubber tracks are sitting there every time I get the oil changed on it. All right, folks, we got all the hydraulic oil change drained out of it. Now we're gonna fill it back up. And on these little gauges here, kind of goes by the temperature of what it is outside. So it's probably about 70 degrees. So we're gonna put it at about around 60, run it for a little while and see what it looks like. If it needs a little bit, we'll add some. Usually the rule of thumb is if it's in the middle of the glass, it's got plenty. Funnel ain't wanting to vent very well, so we're gonna wedge our knife right there so it'll have a little air gap around it. Well, air come out and we pour it in there a little faster. Daisy, I think she's just laying an egg. I don't think there's anything after her. Alrighty, there's 2 gallon. We'll get another jug here. I bet it takes about another gallon maybe. There we go, it's starting up there now. Just a little bit. Alright, we got her on 70 there. That's about the temperature it is outside. Maybe a little bit warmer. But anyway, we've got everything changed on it. That's how you do it, I suppose. But anyway, that's the way I done it. The only way I could find to get to drain the hydraulic reservoir on it. So we got her drained down, got her filled back up, the engine oil filled back up. And that takes care of the lubrication. It's got good grease on it. It's what grease looked like when it was manufactured. And it's got them foreign alamites on it, so I'm gonna have to buy a kit of alamites and replace all the alamites so our grease guns will work on it. But it's got a lot of grease on it right now, so we're going to leave it at that, fire it up and run it a little bit, and that'll be another video. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button, and God bless y'all. See you later.